Hello, and welcome back to me reading Unsolved Murders for you guys. Last time, it was the Happy Valley murder, and now it's the skeleton in the wood who put Bella in the Wych Elm, 1943. Was she a German spy, the victim of a black magic ritual, or an unfortunate vagrant? The true identity of Bella is just one of these murder's mysteries, unanswered riddles. More than 75 years have passed since a woman's skeleton was found stuffed inside of Wych Elm, W-Y-C-H. in a park in Worcestershire, England, during World War II. Following this grim discovery, cryptic graffitis asking the question, "Who put Bella in the Wych Elm?" started to appear around the district. Bizarre theories of a German spy and witchcraft rituals keep this local legend alive. The strange and sinister tale of Bella still captivates armchair detectives today. Despite a lengthy police investigation and a plethora of plausible and not so plausible theories, the identities of the women nicknamed Bella and her killer remain a mystery. The story of the case began in thinly dramatic fashion as dusk was falling on April 18th, 1943. 4 teenagers were cautiously trudging through Hagley Woods. This stretch of woodlands was stated on the grounds of the Hagley Hall Estates, which belonged to Lord Cobham. The 4 boys, Bob Hart, Tom Willits, Fred Pine, and Bob Farmer, were trespassing. Braving the dangers of getting caught by an angry gamekeeper, they were looking for some excitement to take their minds off the nightly German Luftwaffe's bombing raid, aka the German Blitz, which were wreaking havoc in Birmingham, their hometown. They had their dogs with them and was hoping to supplement their family's meager meat ration with a poached rabbit or 2. After a while, Bob Farmer spotted a wych elm named for its strange appearance and decided to climb it, hoping to find a bird's nest. Before I do, let me find the wych elm pictures. Which is these 2 photos right here while using my left hand. German singer-actress Claire Barley, briefly suspected of being the mysterious Belle, a human skull found inside the wych elm in Hagley Wood, Worcestershire, England, and the obelisk on Witchbury Hill, Hagley, bearing the enigmatic graffiti, "Who put Bella in the Wych Elm?" and decided to climb it, hoping to find a bird's nest. He clambered up and peeked down into the hollow trunk. A glimmer of white convinced him that he had hit the jackpot. However, the object lodged in the middle of the tree was not a bird's nest. Bob pulled it out and found himself staring at a skull whose empty eye sockets seemed to stare straight back at him. At first, he thought that the skull was that of an animal until he noticed clumps of what looked like human hair clinging to it and crooked teeth protruding from its mouth. The boys fled the woods, promising each other never to tell a soul about what they had found, for fear of getting into trouble. Despite the promise they made, the seriousness of their find weighed heavily on 17-year-old Tom Willits. Shortly after he returned home, he told his parents about what he and his friends found in Hackley Woods, and they alerted the police. The area was soon cordoned off, aka police tape and caution tape. Inside the ominous-looking tree, they found a woman's skeleton. Disturbingly enough, her hands were missing. The bones were discovered scattered around the tree. A cheap imitation gold ring in size 5.5 blue crepuscule shoes were also found in a short distance away. Scraps of poor quality clothing, a striped knitted cardigan, a cloth skirt with a zipper, a light blue belt hung from the bones, and a piece of taffeta fabric had been stuffed inside the mouth of the skull, indicating the victim had been suffocated. The medical examiner, Professor James Webster, concluded that the woman was around 35 years old, had irregular teeth in her upper jaw, had light brown hair, and was just 5 foot, 1.52 meter tall. He also determined that the woman had given birth to one child in her lifetime and estimated that she had been dead for around 18 months, particularly in July 1941. A businessman and a school teacher had both reported hearing a woman scream coming from Hackley Woods. Police had searched the area but found nothing. Professor Webster's finding convinced him that the death of the unknown woman was murdered, stating, "I cannot imagine a woman accidentally slipping in there. Neither do I think it's responsible for a woman to crawl into a place to commit suicide." He also concluded that the woman had been placed inside the hollow trunk before rigor mortis, the stiffening of the muscles following death, had set in. Otherwise, the body would have been too stiff fit into the narrow tree trunk. Professor Webster also maintained that the victim would have most likely have been killed close to the spot where she was found. Otherwise, the killer would not have been able to transport her body to the tree before rigor mortis set in. It was an excellent place for the concealment of a murder, and I think it indicated local knowledge. Following the discovery in the Wych Elm, Worcestershire police contacted every dentist in the area, hoping that one of them would recognize the woman's distinctive protruding teeth. They also traveled around through over 3,000 missing persons files to see if any of them matched the description of the deceased. Neither line of inquiry turned up any leads. The investigation then turned towards the personal effects found at the scene. The crepe-soiled shoes were traced at the Waterfoot Company, Lincolnshire. Investigators were able to find the owners of all but 6 pairs, which had been sold from a market stall in Dudley, a town roughly 11 miles or 18 kilometers from Birmingham. The complexity of the investigation caused the trial to become colder with each passing week. The numerous tragedies of war soon distracted the public and police attention from the tree murder riddle. The woman remained unidentified and the case was quietly forgotten about. Then, about 6 months later, mysterious graffiti began to appear in the area. The first message, written in chalk on the outside of a house in nearby Old Hill, appeared in late December 1943 and read, "Who put Lubella down the Wych Elm?" This was the first time that a name had been connected to the deceased woman. Over the ensuing months, similar messages appeared, all apparently written by the same hand. The most well-known example appeared on the 200-year-old Westbury obelisk at Hugley Hill. Some version of the graffiti said, "Who put Bella in the Wych Elm?" Gradually, they took the time. Sorry about that. There was something. They took on the same word and spelling form. "Who put Bella in the Wych Elm?" The graffiti ran with the implication that somebody knew who killed Bella, but apparently the police to find the artist proved unsuccessful. In the late 1940s, a new message started to appear asking the same question: was this a clue or a taunt? The case became a whodunit that gripped the nation. The combination and mystery messages and the lack of identity for the victim prompted some fanciful theories. One notion that surfaced early on in the investigation was that Bella could have been the victim of black magic ritual. According to anthropologist Professor Margaret Murray, the fact that Bella's hands were severed from her arm and the bones scattered bore similarities to an occult ceremony known as the Hand of Glory. She also concluded that the murder was somehow connected to another case potentially involving witchcraft. The murder in 1945 of 74-year-old Charles Walton, who was stabbed and pinned to the ground with his own pitchfork in the village nearby of Lower Quinton. These murders remain the longest unsolved murders in Warwickshire's police record. Developing the theory that witchcraft was involved, it was known that the plants belladonna, also known as deadly nightshade, and witch hazel were found widely associated with the occult, and according to local legend, so is Hagley Woods. The fact that Bella was entombed inside a tree rather than being buried was also an indicator of a ritualistic slaying, according to Professor Murray. The theory that Bella was executed for some crime against a coven quickly gathered steam and remains a favorite theory even today. Investigators working on the case, however, dismissed the theory, declaring that the bones from Bella's hands had simply been scattered by animal predation. During World War II, several German spies were captured in the UK. As a result, in 1953, the case of Bella and the Wych Elm attracted a new line of inquiry: war espionage. Yeah, war espionage. the Wolverhampton Express and Star received a letter from somebody who identified herself only as Anna of Calfoulery. She claimed to have information concerning the identity of Bella and interviewed by journalist Wilfred Byford Jones. According to Anna, Bella was a member of a spy ring seeking information about the location of local mutants factory and could then be targeted by the Luftwaffe. Anna was later identified as Una Mossop, and she alleged that her RAF pilot husband, Jack Mossop, had witnessed Bella's death. She said that Mossop told her that he had become involved in a spy ring along with a Dutchman called Van Walt. One evening, Van Walt, accompanied by a woman Mossop believed to be Bella, had picked up Mossop in his car. Shortly after, Van Walt strangled the woman, allegedly because of her spy associations. Another version of the story claimed that Jack Mossop and Van Walt had been drinking with Bella in a local pub when he became drunk and passed out. The two men then placed the woman in the tree to teach her a lesson. When she woke, she was unable to climb out and perished. However, the theory doesn't explain the discovery of the taffeta stuffed inside her mouth. Whichever version was reported to the newspaper has become obscured by time. But what is known is that Jack Mossop died in St. George's Hospital, Stafford, before Bella's body was discovered. Allegedly recurring nightmares of Bella's skull stuffed inside the tree ultimately led to his mental breakdown. Van Walt was never found, and investigators considered Mossop's testimony to be nothing more than hearsay from a strange wife told 12 years after the discovery of Bella. Am I right? In later years, declassified M15 files gave some weight to the spy theory. The files revealed the information concerning a German spy named Joseph Jacobs, who was captured after breaking his ankle while parachuting into Cambridgeshire in 1941. After Jacobs' arrest, a crease photography of the glamorized German actress and cabinet singer Claire Borelli. I can't say words on I can't say shit. Was found in his pocket. Jacobs told his interrogators that Burley was his lover and that the Third Reich had recruited her as a spy. According to Jacobs, Burley, I'm going to say Clara, had parachuted into the West Midlands in 1941 and disappeared. Could Clara have been the woman Una Mossop had mentioned? Joseph Jacobs was convicted of espionage under the Treason Act 1940. He was never able to shed any more light on Clara's fate as he was executed by firing squad in August 1941, the last person to be executed at the Tower of London. However, it is certain that Claire could not have been Bella for the simple reason that Claire was tall, around 5 foot 10 inches, 1.78 meters, whereas Bella was much shorter. Finally, in 2016, it was discovered that Claire had died in a Berlin hospital in December 1942. Alongside all of these imaginative theories, there was speculation that Bella may have been someone with a transient lifestyle, a person not easily traced in life, and thus not particularly missed in death. In August 2014, BBC Radio 4 broadcast a program that suggested that Bella was a prostitute who worked the streets around Hagley Road. According to police files, Bella had disappeared in 1941, which would fit the timeline of events. Locals pointed out the fact that Romanians had camped out in the vicinity of Hagley Woods during 1941. Perhaps Bella was one of them and had been killed by a member of her own community. Yet another suggestion that Bella was a local barmaid who had been killed by an American GI. With no concrete evidence to support them, these various theories ultimately led nowhere. One straightforward and perhaps most plausible hypothesis is that Bella was a homeless woman with no loved ones to report her missing. It's quite simple. She may have been someone who just fell through the cracks. In 2018, a team from Liverpool, John Moores University, used photographs of Bella's skull to create a digital impression of how she might have looked like while alive. It showed an oval face, young woman with closed, set eyes, and noticeable crooked front teeth. As the decades passed, the mystery continued to grow. The sinister-looking tree, the severed hands, and whispers of witchcraft and espionage have combined to weave this tragic tale of an anonymous woman murder into a darkly fascinating legend. And that was the woman in the Wych Elm. The next one would be Death of a Dreamer, 1947. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this story. It's crazy.